Hi everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Mommin'. We're so excited to be here with you for episode 13. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Megan.
And we are so thrilled to be here with you today. We hope you're all doing well, staying safe, staying healthy and happy, and getting through these tough weeks.
Yes, this week we have Tiffany Fluellen on our podcast, and we got a little carried away chatting with her. She had so much to talk about, and she has so many different experiences to share. And so we are going to keep our intro very short this week because we want to get to her story, and we acknowledge that this week's episode is a little bit longer. We do touch on so many subjects, so it's worth a listen. So Tiffany has a background in nonprofits. She's a mom to a little boy. She's married. She lives in Ohio with her husband and son. And she talks to us about miscarriage and adoption and what it was like being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and dating with that diagnosis and how she has managed that in her life and continued to live a full life with a chronic illness diagnosis. She is so funny. It was a ride talking to her. It was just so fun learning from her, hearing her stories, and then she just has a really great sense of humor.
Yeah, she was so funny. I mean, she had me up past my bedtime and happy to do it because she was cracking us up so much, sharing her love of Target and Starbucks and Dr. Pimple Popper. She had just a lot to say and so fun, and also such a positive spin on life that was really helpful to hear, especially, during the current times that we're all in. But she was just really lovely to talk to. And again, as Megan said, so much fun. So fun and funny.
We hope you enjoy this episode. You can find us at Mommin' Podcast on Instagram, our Mommin' Podcast Facebook group, and momminpodcast.com. We hope you enjoy this chat with Tiffany.
Thank you for listening. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Mommin'.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I am.
We're so excited. Yeah.
So we'd like to get started with learning a little bit about you. So if you can give us a little background about who you are, about your family, what you do for work, where you live.
Sure. So my name is Tiffany. My last name is Fluellen. And so it's been an adjustment because that's my married last name, right? And so the best way for me to say it is it's like I have the flu and I watch the Ellen show. You just put it together. It's Fluellen, just let it flow that way. But yes, Tiffany Fluellen. I am in Columbus, Ohio, which is often referred to as Buckeye Country. Go Bucks. My husband would kill me if I at least didn't say that, as far as football is concerned. So yes, I am married. I have been married for 9 years. We have a son. Our son is 2. We also have a dog. So we're known as the T family. So of course I'm Tiffany. My husband is Tony. Our son is Terrence, and our dog is Titan. And so it's just like, wow, it's just all the T's, that kind of thing. And I think it flows pretty well. And we like it. It works for us. So yeah, that is me. I am currently thanks to the world we now live in, as far as COVID is concerned, I am now at home. Prior to COVID, I was working in the nonprofit industry. So loving my job, loving what I did, very, very fulfilling work. The nonprofit industry is the industry where day in and day out that you have made a difference. And I was working with children, 1 middle school and 3 elementary schools. So I knew every day that, the job, I didn't consider it a job, but what I was doing was making a difference and an impact. When COVID happened, our funders pulled their funding. So unfortunately, it resulted in me being back at home. Our son's daycare was closed for a while because of COVID. We know how that was. It reopened in June. So we were glad. We were excited to send him back to daycare. But you know what? I think that he was maybe even more excited to go back himself. He was just, you get used to a certain routine. And now that he's 2, of course, he's every bit of 2. He is your typical 2-year-old boy. And, I really do believe that children thrive when they have a routine and a schedule. And it's been good for him and it's been great for us as well. So I think that's a little bit about me.
I'm so sorry to hear about the job situation. It's
Yeah.
really hard, and I don't know if you saw that stat yesterday about 800,000 women have left the workforce just last month because of COVID.
No, I did
Yeah.
not. I'm Wow. It's like it's shocking still in a lot of ways. And every day it's something new. But the nice thing about it too is it has allowed me to tap into my creative side. So I don't know if you ladies have heard about the Cricut machine, the Cricut.
No.
Okay,
Yes.
you have. Okay, so oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever. So it has allowed me to. I wish I had something really close that I could show you guys things that I have made. I was actually working on a Cricut project before we hopped on to start this podcast, but it is. I'm trying to see what I can. It's kind of like in the same boat as a sewing machine, but in the sense of I'm not using fabric, but I'm using different materials as like I can use felt, I can use vinyls, I can use um, different grades of plastic and still cut them and make them into amazing things. And so when I first got it, I thought that I was only going to use it to make t-shirts because I love like my son wears something almost every day with some kind of word on it. It's something, a saying, a phrase or something. And so I got it for that reason, but I find myself making mask holders, Starbucks cups. The list is like extensive. T-shirts, of course, but it's just been so much fun. So I've been able to spend my time like being creative, and it has definitely worked for me. So yeah.
I'm so glad you talked about the Cricut because
Hmm.
I've heard so many people talk about it. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I still don't really understand it. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can make cups?
Oh yes. Oh
What
yes.
is this machine? I have
Yeah.
never heard of it.
Oh yes. I am going to. I think there's one. Actually, you know what? I think I can grab it because it's right. My microphone might stretch. Hopefully, it doesn't make too much noise. Let me see.
It's fine. We got to see
Okay.
this.
So my love for Starbucks is crazy anyway, right? So this is just their cold cup. And so with
You
this
made that?
one, I bought the cup from Starbucks. This is their reusable cup.
Mhm.
And I put Mama Juice on here.
Oh,
And
how
then I put my
cute.
name here. And
Fan
then the ones that I have made and people have bought from me say all kinds of things. Teacher fuel, I've made that for my son's teachers. Everything. These cups are like massive as far as people buying them. And a lot of times I have to go to multiple locations to get them because they're sold out because so many people are using their Cricut to make these cups too. And so now that it's getting colder, I'm going to start transitioning into their hot cups, the reusable hot cups, and doing the same thing. So before we got on, I was making a cup for my mom. She loves the color pink and like leopard print. So her cup will have that on there, that kind of thing. So I'm having a blast. It's the best thing ever.
That's awesome. Do you have an Etsy store or something?
And that's everybody keeps saying that I should get one. And I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe I should. I mean,
Yeah.
but you know what? Like when I got it, I never thought about getting an Etsy store until other people started seeing what I was doing and they were like, you probably totally should sell these things. And I'm like, what? Really? I'm just having fun. So maybe I will, because I keep hearing it like every
Yeah.
day. So yeah, maybe I will.
Yeah, if you can have fun and make some money off it, even better.
I
Mhm.
mean, you are right. You're absolutely right.
Well, I love that you're finding the positive, from your situation. That's a really great
Mhm.
outlook. I'm impressed. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
well, that was a great background. If you're comfortable sharing, would you mind telling us about, if your partner and you'd talked about having kids beforehand, if you decided when you wanted to start trying, and, you talked about how many you wanted, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So my husband and I, Tony and I, even while we were dating, we always talked about what we wanted our family to look like. And of course, when we got engaged, we still would talk about it. And we both kind of were settled on two. So having two kids. So I am one of two. I have a brother. We're about 2.5 years apart. Um, I am I'm the oldest. So we're 2.5 years apart. And then my husband is the oldest of five. So we were kind of like, okay, where are we comfortable? What number are we comfortable with? And we both agreed on two. And so when we got married, we wrote our own vows. And I said to him, I can't wait to be the mother to your one son. And so now that I think about that and looking back, I'm like, I wonder, you always hear about, and I do believe that words do have power, and you want to speak positive things over your life and that kind of thing. And lo and behold, as of right now, I am, the mother of his one son. And so getting there, we always said we wanted to spend the first few years of our marriage getting to know one another still, because it's different dating and even being engaged to being married. And, when you're dating and you get into like an argument or whatever, you can both go to your separate apartments or homes or whatever if you're not already living together. But when you're married, it's like, okay, I guess I'm going to go to Target and walk around and cool off, I guess, and then I'll come back home, I guess. It's just certain things that are different when you're married. You just can't. You have to deal with your issues. I guess I could put it. That's the easiest way to put it. But when I do spend a lot of time at Target, guys, we're probably going to talk about that again. Probably will. Anyways. But when we got married, yeah, we said, we both agreed that, we wanted to travel. And, when you get married, like the first question everyone says to you after congratulations is, oh, when are you going to have kids? And I'm like, when you guys pay for them. Like, it's like you never really are able to respond fast enough sometimes, I felt like. But it was always like our answer to everyone, family and friends, was we just want to enjoy each other for a while. And we did. We traveled, and we love going to shows and concerts, and we love checking out new restaurants, and just spending time with our friends and family and that kind of thing. And so we did. We spent time doing that. And when we decided that we wanted to have children, that process was, um, I don't want to use the word hard, because it wasn't hard. The process was, um, the word, let me see, revealing, because we didn't get pregnant right away. And so it's like, okay, well, what's going on? What's happening? And I found out that I ended up having some fibroids, so I needed to have um, surgery to repair those and get rid of those. And so we did that. I did that, and we got pregnant. We got pregnant, and I was pregnant for about 6 weeks, and I miscarried, and that was heart wrenching, to say the least. And it still is. It still is. And so um, we waited for about almost a year, and we were trying again, and I miscarried again for a second time. And this time, I don't want to say one was more difficult than the other, because both of the losses, to help us grieve and deal with it, we named them. So the first miscarriage, we named him Gavin. The second miscarriage, we named her Elena. And so when I miscarried with both Gavin and Elena, with Elena, I was so much further along. So I felt her moving and all that stuff, and ended up having to have a DNC when she passed away, basically. So that was really hard, and it still is very hard. And we we said, you know what, let's take some time. Let's press pause on starting a family, and let's go on vacation and kind of clear our minds, and talk about it while we're on vacation. And we did. We talked about it one night at dinner while we were on vacation, and um, my my husband and I, we were talking, and I don't know how we got to the, I guess, the definitive answer that we were going to adopt. But during that conversation, that's exactly what we decided. And so I, I'm like, okay, are you sure? This is that adoption is something that you want to do. And he looked at me and, um, pretty much with tears in his eyes, like, I have never been more sure about anything than this. And I understood why he was and still is so passionate about adoption, because my husband was adopted too. And I understand the power of adoption and being able to literally change the life of, whether you get them from an infant or whatever age, you literally change their lives for the better. And so we started that process pretty much when we got back home from vacation. And for us, the process wasn't difficult at all. We found an adoption agency. So I'm in Columbus, Ohio, but our adoption agency is based out of Cleveland, Ohio. So Cleveland is about 2 hours away, 2 hours and some change away. But we chose Caring for Kids because they have won so many awards, and from Adoption Agency of the Year, and just their social workers and everything. They came very highly recommended. So we were comfortable with them being 2 hours away because of with the recommendations and just everything, that I knew it was going to be a positive experience from what we heard. And so we started that process, and you have to get licensed, and you have to go to classes, and you have to do home studies. And I'm looking in my kitchen because we still have one of the things we had to get was a fire hydrant. I hope I'm saying that right. I think that's what it is.
A
The
fire
big.
extinguisher.
There you go. Thank you. Big. I'm like, it's not a hydrant. Wait, duh. Yeah, we had to get all of that stuff. We had to have an evacuation plan. We had to have all these things, and I'm like, whoa. And the amount of paperwork, and it's like, man, it was extensive. It is, it's crazy, and I get why it needs to be. They have to make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's, and everything has to be, where it needs to, in proper placement. They want to make sure the child is definitely going to the right family. So I'm glad that they take all those measures. It might have been a little bit more extensive for us because we chose the private adoption route, and private infant adoption route is more expensive. It's probably like, more paperwork, a little bit more time. But for me, that was what I wanted to do, because after going through losing Gavin and Elena, I said, I need the surest thing that I can get. I can't continue to go on an emotional roller coaster. Like, and I feel like as soon as I said that, another emotional roller coaster happened. So while I just said the process was pretty easy for us, it did come with its fair share of hiccups. And when I say hiccups, it would be a birth mother would reach out and say that she was interested in my husband and I, and then for whatever reason she would drop off. And so that would happen to us. That happened to us, I want to say 3 times. And I was really on the brink of pulling away from adoption altogether. I said, I already lost my babies. I already lost Gavin and Elena, and I get my hopes up for another baby, and then this happens, and then it happens a few more times. And I'll never forget it. I'm like telling my social worker, hey, I just don't think that, I want to go through this again. And she's like, Tiffany, I understand, but a baby boy was just born this morning. And we showed the birth mother you guys' profile, and she wants to talk to you. And I'm like, what? What do you mean she wants to talk to us? And she said, I'm going to be honest with you. She wants to talk to you, and she wants to talk to another couple. And she wants to make a decision between the two of you guys, the two couples. And I'm like, I don't know. And, we hang up with our social worker, and my husband is just like, babe, I actually feel something different about this one. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I can't take another heartbreak. Like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I think this is going to be different. And so we did. And the thing about it was when she called us, it was early evening and she said, we need to move quickly because this is an emergency placement. And in the sense of, obviously she knew she was pregnant, right? And she went to the hospital and all of that stuff. But she said when she got there, I'm not taking this baby home. So once a mother or a woman, declares that, that's when social workers and all of that, the hospital staff, they turn to an adoption plan and see, what the options are. So we kind of had to move quickly on our decision because of all of that. And then to add to that, our son was an emergency himself because she had to have an emergency C-section because his heart rate dropped significantly. So she had to immediately go in and have a C-section. And she still, after all of that, the trauma of the delivery and all of that, she still wanted to choose adoption and, looked at our profile. And so, yeah, that happened on of all days for it to happen, it happened on a Thursday night. And so then you have Friday and then you have the weekend and I'm going crazy like, oh my gosh, is she going to choose this? What is happening? What is going on? We talked to her, we FaceTimed with her and we let her know that, we respect her decision either way, but we would love to, parent this little boy. And she said, okay. And we knew she was going to decide between another family. And the next day, we talked to her on a Sunday. The next day was a Monday. I get a call um, from her. And that call made me a mother. And I didn't want to get my hopes up, but I also didn't want to give up at that point either because we already had gone so far with her. We had talked to her on the phone. We had FaceTimed with her. She even showed us a picture. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do I fall in love with this baby right now? Or what do I do? And so when she called, I'm like, okay. And she said that I want to congratulate you and your husband because you guys are going to be Terrence's parents. And I said, what? And I'm like bawling, I'm screaming, I'm crying. I'm like, I'll call my husband. I was at a rehearsal, a vocal rehearsal, and I call my husband. He's like, okay, babe, this is the thing. First, you have to calm down. You can't drive in the emotional state that you're in. Okay, you have to calm down. Okay. I'm like, okay, I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, I think like this is everything. The room is spinning. I don't even know. So I get home and we immediately pack our bags because he was born in Cleveland. So we have to get up the next morning and head to Cleveland. And we did. We got up the next morning and we were in the car and we drove up as a married couple and we came home as a family. And that was, I'm getting goosebumps even like talking about it. It was the most incredible feeling because we brought our son home. Terrence was 4 days old when he came home. So it was like, oh my gosh, this is actually real. This is happening. This is real. This is our baby. This is our son. I am now the mother to your one son, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. So yeah, and we obviously we haven't looked back, and is now we're 2 years in, almost 2.5 years in, and he is the sunshine of our lives. My he's my whole world. I know, like, especially when he was, I still do, but so much when he was an infant, when I would hold him. So I stayed home with him. I was a stay-at-home mom with him for the first year and a half of his life. And I'm like, I'm glad that he's a baby because I would hold him and I would literally just be crying over him. And I'm like, my baby probably thinks he lives in a rainforest. Like, why is mommy always crying? And it's just like, he doesn't yet know how much of a blessing that he is to his father and I, and how much we literally prayed for him and how much that, we chose him. And even though we chose him, I feel in so many ways like he chose us too. And he fits perfectly into our family. And so the greatest compliment when we're out as a family and people say, oh my gosh, your son is the perfect blend of you and your husband. I love hearing that. And of course, I don't say to everyone we meet, I don't have the time, nor do I want to, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe, like, he's adopted, because it doesn't matter. Like, he's our son. And through all of this, what I have learned is it is not love is in our DNA. It's not blood that has made us a family. It is literally like the love, the pure love that we have for that little boy that has molded us together and knit us together as a family. And it's the best feeling ever. And I can say that, like, I am a mother, and however parenthood comes to you, whether it's, through adoption or, IVF or whatever it is, it's a miracle either way. And it's something that I'm thankful for every single day. Every single day. Yeah.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that.
I have so many
Thank
feelings.
you. I got so many, just thinking about this situation, so many more feelings came up again, and thinking about it, and going through it, because I don't, the older he gets, I don't talk about it every day. I don't,
Mhm.
it just is a part of our lives, and we just go with it, and it has worked for us, obviously. So yeah, but I do like going down memory lane.
Mhm.
It is a good feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think you'll adopt again, or you said the one son,
I
so is that kind of
know.
undecided at this
I
point?
know.
And what do you think made you say that in your vows, since you had already decided on 2? Did it just come out, or did you think about it?
Exactly. I feel like it just came out. And I knew, what I did know was, at that time, that I wanted to be a boy mom. I knew that. And I said, even though I want us to have two, I at least want us to have a boy first.
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm like, let me just, maybe if I say it, it will definitely happen that way. Well, I said it, and then it happened that way. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And sorry, I hijacked Megan's question. Do you know, or have you guys
Oh,
thought if you'll adopt again?
oh, sorry. We we were we have talked about it, and at this point, we are not. I don't think we are going to adopt again. We were very open to it because we had a very positive experience, and um, so we were very open to it. But as of our most recent conversation about it, we kind of have um, closed the book on adoption.
Mhm.
But we are fans of it. It worked for us. We tell people, couples, about it all the time. That it's an option. It's amazing to me still. So our son was born in 2018, it's 2020, but the conversations that we have, and we have talked to other couples, when you mention adoption, not everyone, the reaction we got the most was, oh, wait, you're right. You're right. I guess we could adopt. So people still, I guess maybe because it's not talked about maybe as much or whatever, they kind of forget that you can still have a family. It doesn't have it may not look like a family in the traditional sense, but you can totally still have a family. And adoption is an absolute beautiful way and an amazing route, and an option for you to have the family you want. But yeah, we had a great experience. But as of our last conversation, we will. I don't think we are going to adopt again. No,
Well, you've got the 4 T's, so you're
we do. We do. We do. We do. Because I even said, wait, do we get another dog? And my husband's like, absolutely not. No, we're not getting another dog. We're not doing that either. So, yeah. So no.
We adopted, and during our home study process, something you said reminded me of this quote. It was like, you're on a plane to, I don't know, England or something, and then you land, and they say, welcome to Poland, and it's like, and it's basically like, I think the quote was originally for special needs families, and it's like, Poland's a beautiful place with awesome experiences, and you could miss it all because you're just still wishing you were in England,
Oh, wow.
but appreciate Poland. And the quote's much more beautiful
Mm,
than that. I can't remember it word for word, but I loved it. And I was
yeah.
like, it's so true because it is a different way to grow your family
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, but there's also so much you gain from it. Um, and for me, like now I'm like, how could our life be without this child? I mean, that's just not possible. I can't even imagine it. And
Exactly.
that's kind of what I was hearing from you too, is,
Oh, yeah.
ad- adopting, it's hard and there's
Yeah.
hard from all sides, but
Hmm.
it can be amazing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the another funny part about that whole situation. So when our son was born, and I would first go out with him, and other moms would see us in Target, duh, and ask and ask me, how old is he? And I would tell them like, he's a month or whatever, and then they would look at me and be like, oh my gosh, what plan did you breastfeed? Like, how did you get back in shape? And I'm like, okay, this could go one of two ways. I don't have a lot of time. The easiest way is to do what? Okay. And I would say to them, you know what? Actually, my pregnancy was pretty painful, and I don't really know how I got back to this place, this back in shape, because I never thought I would recover from the paper cuts. And the women would look at me like, paper cuts? And I'm like, yeah, so thank you, but I adopted my son. And then they're like, oh, I get it. The paperwork, the paper cuts.
yeah.
I'm like, hey, those things are real. Those are serious. And I had to like put bandages on them and everything. It hurt. And it would be it was the easiest transition for me to really be able to explain, I guess, why I didn't have your typical body, if that is even a thing, I guess, because I don't feel like I am in the best shape by any means. And I'm like, I probably look like I'm still pregnant right now. I'm like, I'm pregnant right now. Like, I need to, thanks a lot, COVID. I'm cooking a lot these days, and I'm at home. So that's
Hmm.
happening. So
Hmm.
that's just one of the many things that I say when you know, when I'm approached, or someone, asks that question, is, the paper cuts, man, they're pretty intense. And they were, because that is the absolute 100% truth. It really is.
Oh, that
Yeah,
paperwork. Oh man.
absolutely. Oh man. I think it was more paperwork for our adoption than it was for our when we bought our home for our
Oh,
mortgage.
100%. Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
For sure. So it is. It's a lot. For sure.
Yeah. Do you
Hmm.
feel like your husband brings a different person? I mean, I'm sure he does, but anything that he brings in as an adoptee himself, now being an adoptive father?
Oh, absolutely. The relationship I already see with my husband and our son is beautiful to be able to witness. And sometimes, if I'm being honest, I envy it in some ways, because when he gets older and we have the conversation with him, they they're already bonded, right, as father and son, but they're going to be able to take that to another level when he's able to say, but daddy was adopted too. And that's
Hmm.
going to bond them in a way that I can't, um like, that I can't do. Like, I can't say the same thing to him. But
Hmm.
he has his dad that is going to be able to directly understand and relate to him, and the emotions and everything that he will go through and feel,
Hmm.
because he went through it. And our goal is to love our son so hard that when we do have to have that conversation with him, it's not going to matter, because we have loved him, and he has been our son from the time that he was 4 days old. And so when we have to have that conversation with him, we don't see it being a hard conversation. We see it as being one that is going to be necessary, because it's not going to be a secret. We will not keep that from him. But at the same time, necessary and needed, but they're going to be able to bond and just grow deeper in their relationship as father and son. And I know that to be a 100% fact, because my father in love, my husband's dad, did just that. He loved he loved Tony, my husband, so hard that, man, their relationship is amazing. And so I'm like, if it's anything like that, oh, it's going to be. It already is beautiful, and so yeah, it's going to be great. And they, you hear it. Mama's boy, and a mother's love to a son is different, and all of that. And I do agree with that. But I'm like, man, his relationship with his dad is going to be even more special in its own unique way. Just because by the nature of what it is and how it came to be, and it's already a beautiful thing. It's just I am enjoying watching it. And like I said, it's like, man, this little boy, he is loved deeply, deeply, deeply loved. Yeah.
That's most important, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I could talk about this all day because
Me
it's
too.
kind of one of my things, but I want to hear all the other parts of you being a parent as well. Do you have any thoughts on like the best and hardest part of being a mom for you?
Hmm. I don't know. That probably my answer to that will probably change depending on the day, right?
Mhm.
It is. I think for me, like the best part early on was um, hearing him say "mama" for the first time. That kind of sealed the deal for me because I'm like, it's one thing to know, yeah, I'm his mom, but to hear him say it is like completely different. And even when he says it now, it's like I just feel all the emotions all over again. And it's like I never get tired of him saying "mama" ever. And it was the whole thing, like, okay, what is he gonna say? Mommy or daddy first or whatever. And I'm like, he's totally gonna say "mama" first because I'm at home with him every day. So he better, like, I'm the one that's here while you're away at work, my husband was away at work, like, I'm putting in the time. So he's gonna definitely say "mama" first. And he was like, no, it's been proven that, babies normally they say daddy first because it's easier for them to pronounce phonetically or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And sure enough, he definitely said mama first. And so it's been like the best feeling. I was always thinking about when we were going through the adoption process, and you play around with these scenarios in your mind, like, okay, once we get him, like, how long is it going to take for him to say mama? And when he does say it, like, how am I going to feel? And it's just a thing that I don't think I could have prepared myself for. It was just so when it happened, I was just overflowing with so much joy and excitement. So that is one of the best things about being a parent. I think. Let's see, your question to the best. Did you say the best and the worst thing,
Yeah, the
or
best and the hardest. Yep.
the hardest? The hardest thing I think for me right now is already knowing that I'm not going to be able to protect him from everything.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a very crazy world, and I'm not going to be able to protect my son from all the evil and craziness that exists. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. I think that's the hardest part about, for me, about being a mother, is that I'm not going to be able to protect him from the things that are going to hurt him. And I'm like, man, he's my baby. I don't want, and he's going to be when he's 21, he's still going to be my baby. And I don't want I don't want him to be hurt, and I don't want to see him hurt. But I also know that it is um, a part of life, and I know that all parents, could say the same thing. No parent wants to see their child in pain or hurt or experience any of those things. And if we could, we would take it all away or experience it for them. But we also have to, let them learn and grow. So it's just everything from him learning to walk and falling down, and when he falls and cries, I'm crying, to it's like having to just find that balance and know that it really is just a part of life. But I just don't want it. He's my baby and I want to protect him from all hurt, harm, and danger. But, children are resilient too. And, we are raising him to be that way. And he is already such a strong little boy. So, I know that he will continue to be. But yeah, I think so. That's probably the best and the hardest thing so far.
Oh, I feel that. Yeah,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think about that too. I don't know why. Like already with these little babies, like, oh no, what could happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's I don't want to say it's a beautiful answer, but it's so encapsulates everything that we all feel about protecting our kids and knowing that we can't, and that fear of what is to come, but also, we raise them as best we can so that they can be resilient to it, like you're saying. So it's a really
Right.
great answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, another area that we wanted to cover is, if you're comfortable, of course, is that you were also diagnosed with MS. So is that something you'd be willing to talk about when you were diagnosed and your journey with that?
Yeah. I was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, in 2008. And I didn't, wow, it was definitely difficult. The would kind of, I guess, would send me to the ER. Was I was at work and I was going to, this is 2008, and I was going to take a pen to write down a message for a coworker. And I went to do it and realized that I couldn't write. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm a lefty. I'm left-handed, and I'm like, why can't I write? And I dismissed it. Like, oh, you know what? I probably slept on my arm wrong last night, and it probably is just, numb from doing that. And so, I couldn't write it, so I sent it. I typed it up and sent it to her that way. I think in an email or something like that. And about an hour later, it was after lunch, and I realized like the right side of my tongue started to tingle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. Like I can't write, and then the right side of my tongue started to tingle, and I dismissed that too. I was like, you know what? I probably was allergic to whatever I had for lunch. But then I realized that I packed my lunch and there was nothing in it that I could be allergic to. So I'm like, okay, this is still weird, but I'm going about my day, and it's by this time it's the afternoon, and I the left side of my body started to tingle. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I was already talking to my cousin and we were texting, and I was telling her what was going on, and she was like, Tiffany, this doesn't sound right. You need to go to the hospital. I was like, Erica, like for what? Like, no. Um, but then I was talking to my mom and I told my mom what was going on, and she called the hospital, and I think she was able to talk to a nurse and or something. And they said, you need to get your daughter to the ER right away because she is having a stroke.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm having a stroke. I have to go to the ER. What is going on? So I rush home, meet my mom. At the time, I was living at home with my mom, and she drives me to the hospital. And when I get there, they started to work me up as what's the word? As if I was having a stroke. So I was getting all the tests that you would get if you were having a stroke. But after the first few, they were able to rule out that I wasn't having a stroke, but they couldn't pinpoint what it was. So then I was admitted. And I'm like, I'm not having a stroke. Like, this is probably cold and flu season, but it was March. And I'm like, just trying to figure out any reason for me to not have to be admitted to the hospital. I had never, up until that point, have had to do that. And so I was in the hospital for a week. And I got, every test pretty much known to man. I would say the end of that week, the neurologist came in and said, your tests have come back and it looks like from the testing, that you have multiple sclerosis. And I said, what? And so he repeated it. And I'm so glad my mom was in the room with me, because I think I stopped listening after that point.
Mhm.
Because once I heard multiple sclerosis, and MS, at that time, I had only known of one person or two people that had MS. They were both females, they were both women. And one was doing okay and the other one wasn't doing as well. So my life immediately began to flash in front of my eyes, and I'm like, okay, but what is my life going to look like with this disease? And like I said, I stopped listening, and it was a hard pill to swallow. It was difficult. It was so very difficult. And once I was released from the hospital, given these options, and at the time for drug therapy for in 2008 for MS, one of the treatments that was offered to me was by a weekly injection. And so my family and I had to go to my neurologist's office and learn about with the nurse how to inject this medication every week. And man, I'm like, I, how, why, and all of that. And I'm like, man, no one is going to want to marry me. I'm not going to be able to have children. Like, my life is just, I fell into a very deep depression, and it took a while.
Mm.
It took a while. I turned my phone off. I didn't want to talk. I mean, obviously I was with I lived with my mom, so I talked to her. I didn't want any visitors. I didn't. I stayed in my room. I, this was not what I had planned for my life, and
Mhm.
so I did not know how to properly deal with it for a while. And I don't know what it was, but it was just one day. I'm like, okay, I can't stay like this forever,
Mhm.
because life is still happening all around me. So I have a decision that I need to make. Like, am I going to go on and like this and be in doom and gloom forever? Or am I going to say, you know what, like, let me try to make the most of my life in the best way that I can. It may not have been my ideal plan, quote unquote, but let me see what I can do. And I did. I did that. I came out of hiding. I turned my phone back on. I had so many messages and missed calls and all of that. And I, was able to, talk to friends and family about it. And I was started on, the injectable therapy with injecting every Friday. And I knew that that was like a day for me. I chose Friday because at least I had the weekend to recover from all the side effects from it and all of that. But I'm like, man, this is going to be hard to have to deal with. And the medication had to be in the refrigerator. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it has to be chilled. And I'm like, oh, this is a lot to deal with. But I said, obviously I'm still here, so I can do it. And I did. And I made it my mission to learn as much about the disease as I can. And, it's 2020. And so there's things about it that I still am learning, because it changes, and MS affects everyone differently. And what it looks like for me is not going to look the same for the next person, male or female. So, but what unites us, everyone that has it, is the fact that, we have the disease, and it does affect us differently, but it still is what it is. And right now, it's multiple sclerosis. So I did that, and I made it my mission to learn as much as I can about the disease. So much and so that I ended up kind of partnering with the pharmaceutical company. And I would be at the time they called it, I believe, a patient advocate. So a neurologist and myself would speak at conferences about the disease. And so the neurologist would speak from the medical part, but I would speak from the living with it day in and day out. And then we would do a Q&A, and people were able to ask questions and that kind of thing. And I traveled around. I felt like I lived in the airport because I was always traveling and all of that. And ended up meeting my husband. And I I when we first started dating, I was like, okay, man, I think I like him. So let me just tell him and let him walk away now before I fall so in love with him and won't be able to recover from him not being able to deal with this news. And so uh, we were dating for about a month or so. And we were talking, we were on the phone, and I said to him, I said, Tony, I am enjoying our time together, our conversations, our dates. I really am. But there is something that I need to tell you. And I want you to know that I am okay with your decision either way, but I want to be fair to you. And he was like, Tiffany, what are you talking about? What is it? I'm
Yeah,
like,
for real.
and I'm like, okay, I know. And I'm like, wow, looking back on it and even saying it again, maybe I was being a little bit dramatic. I don't know. But like setting it up like that, like how you don't know what to think. Like, what is she about to say? Like, who is this person? What are we doing? And I said to him, Tony, have you ever heard of multiple sclerosis? And he's like, yeah. I said, okay, I'm glad that you've heard of it because I have it. And he was like, okay, I was on my way to pick you up. Where do you want to eat? And I said, um, 1 second. Let me rewind back. So I have I'm being honest with you. Like it's not a joke. Like I have MS and I want you to know because I want to be fair to you. Like before we continue dating and I fall in love with you or whatever, I want you to know that this is something that I have and things could change in our relationship depending on how my disease is or whatever. And he's like, Tiffany, I heard you, but you telling me that doesn't change the way that I feel about you. So do you still want to go out to eat? And of course, I'm a foodie. I'm like, duh, yeah. And so as they say, the rest is history. So I am totally, thoroughly grateful that he still continues to process and deal with me being a tad bit dramatic at times. But in all seriousness, it's a serious disease. And I would want someone to be honest with me and allow me to be able to make a decision because I have heard of too many stories where even people were married and they ended up getting the disease and got a divorce, or they were dating and they broke up because not everyone could handle the pressure of, am I going to eventually have to end up being this person's caretaker? And maybe it's better that we just end things before I do fall too deeply or whatever. So that really was the reason why I told him a month and a half into us dating, because I wanted to be as fair as possible, because I want my quality of life to be the best that it can be, but I also wanted his to be the best. The beautiful thing about it and the blessing in it all is that he told me that his quality of life is going to be the best as long as we're together, And that man is just, yeah. Yeah. I don't take it for granted because I know that is not everyone's story. So it is a blessing for sure.
Is
For
that when
sure.
you fell in love with him and he was like, okay, but do you want to go out to eat?
Yeah.
Like completely over, like doesn't even want to talk about it. Just, can we go to dinner now and have our date?
Right. Right. Exactly. I think
I mean,
so.
yeah, that would have sealed the deal for me.
I think so. I think so. It pretty much did. I think it really did because I'm like, wait a minute. You know that I love to eat and I love going out to eat and I really did. Obviously I still do. Like I really enjoy spending time with you. So yeah, it really was. It showed me so much about him and his character and who he was, because I mean he could have said something completely different or could have said, you know what, actually, thank you for telling me because I don't think I can or want to deal with it. And I would have had to respect that, because it's his life. But for him to just kind of be like, okay, thanks for sharing. Can we eat now? Like, you are speaking my love language. Yes, for sure we can.
That is a good
For sure.
man.
Yes.
Yes.
He is.
Oh,
Yes, he is. He
that is
is.
cracking me up so much
He is
though,
what
that
he
response.
says.
Yes. And you probably were like, okay, this is going to be a
Right.
conversation.
Oh
Like,
yeah. And that's what I was preparing myself for. A full conversation, like having to, explain everything. And he's been such a great support, even like when I was telling you about the injectables, like some weeks when I couldn't do it, just it was just too much for me, he would give me my injections. And I'm so thankful for that, because him seeing me at my worst is, it's difficult. It is not easy, for sure. So that has been my journey. I am that happened, and I since then, and I have tried a few other drug therapies and all of that. And the most recent one I was on has worked so phenomenally well, and the disease is under control, and I am so incredibly thankful for that. And the one of the reasons why we chose the therapy, the most recent one I was on, was because if we decided that we wanted to have a child naturally, going that route, the medication would not affect me, like my female organs or anything like that. So that was the one of the main um, deciding reasons for the most recent drug therapy that I chose. But through it all, my husband, my family, they have all like been the greatest support team that I could have ever have imagined. So they have been great with it, for sure.
That's really great.
That's
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so happy to hear all of
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
It sounds like, are you, it sounds like things are pretty stable and good right now. Does MS affect your daily life on a physical level right now?
If anything, with my MS in a physical level, is it would be the fatigue factor.
Mhm.
So it's a different type of fatigue. With MS is different from your normal day-to-day fatigue. Fatigue with MS a lot of times can be and is debilitating. So when I'm really having an episode of fatigue, like I'm at home and I'm sitting down somewhere. I'm either in the bed or on the couch. But I'm so thankful that that has not happened to me in a really long time, to where I have been debilitated by my fatigue. There has been times where I've had to slow down and, say, okay, before I tackle this next project, let me take a break and give myself some time. But it's nothing like what I have experienced in years before, in the past, at all. So for the most part, no, it does not um, get in the way of anything that I want to do. No.
That's great.
Yeah. It is. It is great.
I mean, no one wants to be diagnosed with any chronic condition, but the fact that you researched it and decided, you know what, I'm going to do what I can to
Mhm. Mhm.
manage this the best I can.
Yeah, to manage
It's
it, but
hard.
also to
Yeah.
become like a patient advocate, like you said, to be a part of the process
Mhm.
is really amazing and inspiring, to sort of take ownership of your role in it and what you're able to do. That's just really powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and that is the goal. I want people to know that are diagnosed with it. That your life doesn't have to stop with the diagnosis. In a lot of ways, your life can actually just begin, because you find new and creative ways to still do the things that you want to do, and the things that are on your list that you still want to check off, you still can. It may look different, but it doesn't mean that it won't or cannot happen. And so you have to, it is also, though, so crucially important to just surround yourself with people who have the same mindset and that are going to um, respect you and understand when you can't maybe do something, or you can't hang out, or you have a plan to do something, but the disease kind of gets in the way. Having people who understand that you're not just flaking out on them, but it's like you really have a legit reason why you can't do some of the things that maybe you did even plan. But and those people being okay with it and not judging you for it or getting upset, like that is so important, to have a good, a support team around you, friends and family that are going to be able to, pick up the slack when you can't, and just be there for you. I think that has really made a world of difference, I think, for me. And realizing that, you still, as much as when I was explaining to you ladies how much I tried to dismiss what it is, the ultimate lesson in all of it is that we have to pay attention to our bodies. We have to pay attention to the signs. And a lot of times, dismissing it could be the difference between something very, very bad happening and you being able to control some things. So that was definitely a learning lesson for me to, like, don't ignore things and don't just pass them over or think that it's nothing when really actually it is. And your body is trying to tell you something. That's the reason why it's responding the way that it is. So you have to listen.
It's a really good reminder. It's so easy, especially when you're a
Mhm.
mom. Like, you don't have time to be thinking about, oh, well, okay, something feels weird today, but like, okay, got to get X, Y, and Z done.
Right.
But
Mhm.
if mom's
Hmm.
down, the whole family can be down. So we need to take care of ourselves. That's a
There
really
you
great
go.
reminder.
Mhm.
Very true. Yes, we do. We have to.
Should we shift back to, I want to make sure, because I know it was really important to kind of mention that um, any advice that you have, either for someone going through miscarriages or for those supporting someone going through miscarriages. And if you want to touch a little bit on October being infant and what is it? Infant and
Yeah,
pregnancy.
pregnancy and
Mhm.
infant loss awareness month.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So with losing my babies, Gavin and Elena, I think what helped me was um, naming them, giving them a name, and that actually did come at the suggestion of my therapist. And I'm like, you know what? I liked and loved that idea because I always want to acknowledge them and the experience of, still being their mom, even though I'm not able to physically hold them. And it's times like different things are triggers, for sure. Sometimes seeing other women pregnant could be a trigger, or just different things. But it's also reassuring and helpful to have times like literally right now, the month of October, with it being Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. It's like, okay, this whole month is dedicated to coming around um, the loss of a baby through, miscarriages or stillbirth or anything, things like that. And I have been able to is just so amazing too, that once I started to share that, you find that you're so not alone. And so many women experience it, right? So I believe the number is 1 in 4. 1 in 4 women experience it. And because a lot of times it feels like a secret society. And it's like, because it's a secret society, you don't want to talk about it, but it really does exist. And so I feel like the more that it's talked about, the more that we can rally around each other as women and support it. And, it's a club or a secret society or whatever, but whatever you want to call it, but we are united in the sense that we went through a very hard time with losing a baby, a life that we planned for and that we were ready to welcome into the world and live and just experience everything with that child. And so naming them. So Gavin and Elena I also have a ring that I wear that says always in my heart, because that's where they are. They will always forever be in my heart. But especially during the month of October, I am even more intentional about making sure that women know that they are not alone, that they are not alone, and that, together, we're strong and we can get through it. And not, just don't be afraid to reach out and share your experience, because you never know who else it is also going to help by you, also saying, that you went through something like that as well. So yeah, for sure, they will always be my babies, and I will always acknowledge them as that, for sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, it's so important to normalize it and to make it part of conversation.
Mhm.
And I mean, I had a couple of chemical pregnancies, and I felt like that was so important too, to just talk about it. So I was very open. And it was so interesting because people who hadn't experienced that were so shocked and clearly understandably didn't know how to respond always. But the women who did instantly, like, wrap you in your arms and are telling you the stories and see, like, had this almost sense of relief to be able to, like, commiserate a little bit about it. So I think it's so important to just be like, it happens. Like you said, 1 in 4, it happens all the time. And we all need space and the ability to honor that.
Absolutely. And it has become in its own way therapeutic for me being able to talk about it. And we on one of our vacations, another way that we kind of honored them is we were on the beach and I wrote their name, Gavin and Elena, in the sand. And when you're on the beach, you know that it's going to wash their names away. And so I wrote their name and then I took a picture of it. And we see the tide or the wave coming, and I literally I watched the water wash away their names, but it was a way for me to honor them, and I wanted to do, for me, it was creative in that sense. But just because the water washed their names away, it didn't wash away the memory, and it didn't wash away, the fact that I know that I'm still there. Like, I'm still their mom. It was just a way for me to kind of honor them. And I will always, I always will. I mean, I know every woman, their experience is different in whatever way, and they choose to do what they do in the ways that are best for them. But my therapist has given me great ideas and things that I will probably always do. And one of those was giving them a name and acknowledging them for who they really, for who they were. So that has been helpful for me, for sure.
Love that.
Yeah, that is beautiful and true. What works for someone might not work for someone else, but it
Mhm.
might work for them.
Yeah.
It just might. You never know. Hmm.
That's great advice. Kind of along the advice line, and gosh, we could talk forever, I feel like. You have so many,
Absolutely.
your life has a lot of different areas where we could talk forever. So many different aspects. But if we're giving advice, I'd love to also hear if there's anything you feel like that you've learned about parenting with a chronic illness, anything that's helped you with that.
Hmm. Any advice with parenting with a chronic illness? So I'm going to say this, but I'm also saying it back to myself when I say accept help, accept the help. And it's very, in a lot of ways, that's why I said I'm saying it back to myself, because I'm so used to being so independent. And when I was diagnosed and all of that, I still was like, I am not a charity case. I will still do anything and everything that I want to do. And it was really when, at the time he was my boyfriend, but, my husband now, it was him really telling me that it's okay to accept help. And I would hear him say that, but that I would still kind of fight against it still. Cause I'm like, no, I can do it. I can do it. And it's like, wait, there's some things and some days, Tiffany, actually you can't. So, accept the help. And one of the things that I can think of, an example of that is having a cleaning company come in and clean our home once a month. And I fought him when he first brought it to my attention. I fought him on it, like, absolutely not. No. I am the woman of this house. My kitchen is the way that it is for a reason. I put things the way that I like them. I will clean it. It's going to take me a while to clean it, but it will get clean. It's like, Tiffany, like, just accept the help. And when the thing is that when I finally did, I was able to, like, breathe a huge sigh of relief, because it helps tremendously. Especially having a 2-year-old now. I'm like, man, what would I do without them? It's once a month, but it's like, it works for us because during the other times we're still able to maintain. and then they come in and do it again, and then we maintain. And it's that cycle. And I'm like, I appreciate it too, because it frees up it gives us time to be together as a family. Because when you're really, to really clean thoroughly and deep clean,
So much
Oh,
it
time.
takes time.
it does.
It takes a lot of time. And now the one thing that I did not, they offered, it was a hard no on the laundry. I said, look, no. Okay, just let me do my laundry. Just let me have my laundry, okay? But even that, I'm saying that because I'm like, man, laundry takes
And it never
forever.
ends.
Mhm.
And the very moment that I think, yes, I got it.
Yeah.
No, I do not have
Well, it's the
it.
children.
Yep.
And I'm like, how does this happen? And you
Mhm.
just don't. It's just it's never ending. So the laundry, yeah, no, I will still. It's a tedious process, and it never ends. And it is, but that is the one thing that I still do 100% of is the laundry. But accepting help and having them clean once a month is great. Every once in a while, we'll do a meal train or participate in a meal train for another couple or something. And I'm like, this is like the best thing, because it's one less thing you have to worry about. And you don't realize how much of a relief it is when you don't have to worry about cleaning or cooking or, those kinds of things. So that would be my advice would be, I guess, humble yourself and just say yes to the help. Accept the help. Like, it really is, it is there to help you, to be such a relief for you. And it ends up being a relief. So I know it's difficult, but just say yes to the help.
Good advice. Very good advice that I think many
Yeah.
women are bad at
Yep.
taking. So I think
Yeah.
that's so important to say. And it probably makes you a way better mom. And
I think so. I
because
do.
that's something taken away.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree, because it gives me back time. Time is the most precious commodity that we have.
Mhm.
And man, you can't put a price tag on that. So if I can take the hours that it would take cleaning, spending time with my husband and my son, yep, I'll take it for sure.
Great answer.
Yeah.
You said you and your husband traveled a ton, so I'm dying to know if you could say one place that everyone has to go to that you traveled to, where would it be?
Man, okay. Okay. One place, I'm like, man, it's almost like a tie. So, okay, so it's between Dominican Republic and then Cancun, Mexico. But okay, I'm going to choose. No, still do Dominican Republic. We are huge fans. Had a beautiful experience there, but we have been to this particular resort in Cancun, Moon Palace, a few times, because it is one of the things that we love about traveling is we do the all-inclusive things. So we've done cruises and things like that. The cruises are great too. We love those, but we really love destinations like the Dominican Republic and the where we went in Cancun, because it was a destination and then it was all inclusive. Everything was already paid for, and the only decisions that we had to make was what we wanted to eat, what time we wanted to eat, and what fruity beverage I was drinking. That was the decision the only decisions we had to make. But we fell in love with. You have to go check it out. Check
All
out the
right.
Moon Palace in Cancun. You will be
I'm gonna
so
write that one
glad
down
that you did.
so you don't forget.
Definitely. And
Awesome.
now that we're talking about it, now I want to go.
Oh,
I want
Right.
to go
I
so
miss
bad.
vacation a little bit.
And I definitely miss vacations. And, another thing that I guess a tip, we've booked all of our vacations through our membership with Costco. I don't know if you guys have a Costco where you are,
Mhm.
but we booked all of our vacations through Costco. And when I tell you the major significance of savings that we have gotten versus if we were to do that without our Costco membership, we're talking about a few
I didn't know that was a thing.
$1,000 difference.
I had no, that
Oh,
that you
what?
And the beauty of it all is that Costco wraps it all up into one thing. I'm talking about your round trip airfare. I'm talking about rental car. I'm talking about if you need to transportation from the airport to your destination and then
How
back
have
to the
we not
airport.
heard of this as a
You
thing?
guys, it's the only way that we do vacation. Our cruises, Costco. Our destinations, Costco. Rental cars, when we still have to rent a car, we do it through Costco. Like it is ridiculously amazing how much money you save with it.
I cannot believe I have never once heard of this in my entire life.
They have a even when you go in to their, to the store, they have a vacation like booklet of like places that you can choose from or whatever, or you can do it online too.
Uh-huh.
But when we first decided to get a membership, we just looked at the booklet and we were like, OMG, all of these options you have with them. And it is amazing. So we tell everybody about it. It's the best thing. And everybody that does it, they're like, why do we not do this sooner? Thank you. So please, if you have a Costco membership, use it. Use it, use it, use it for sure. For sure.
When I travel again, I'll be checking
Yeah.
that out because
Oh,
of
I can't wait.
Costco.
Yeah. When we all travel again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Well,
awesome.
that's an amazing tip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And kind of on that line, but on a lesser scale, what do you do kind of every day or frequently to help yourself unwind, to take care of yourself a little bit?
So let me see. Frequently, I don't know if I told you ladies, but do you guys know that I like Target? Did I tell you that? Okay,
No, I haven't heard that.
great. So that it's so bad too, because I actually, and this was a legit conversation. So when he proposed, I said to him, I said to my husband, I said to Tony, like, babe, I really want us to get married at Target. Like I saw it happen. I saw it on TV. Like we could make this, they can transform the store and we could really do this. And he's like, Tiffany, no, absolutely not. Like now what we can do is we can register at Target, but we're not going to go to our local Target and ask them if we can have our wedding here. And I'm like, but we should. We really should. So I mean, I say that to say that I do. I spend a lot of time there. And it's not just one particular one. It is all the Targets for me. I love them all. So I guess that's one level because it's an experience. I am an avid Starbucks drinker. And so when I go to Target, I go to the Starbucks first. And then once I have my beverage, I'm like, okay, now the adventure begins. And it's always that for me. And different Targets have different things on clearance and stuff. So if I was to just pigeonhole and box myself into my local Target, like I would miss out on so many other amazing deals at others. And I couldn't, I can't do that. I can't do that. So that is a thing that I do a lot is even well, I can't even say that. I can't believe I was getting ready to say, even if I don't buy anything from Target, that would not be true. I just
But
spend a
it's
lot
an
of
If
experience for you too.
yeah.
It's not
because
about the
it's definitely an experience for me and it allows me to walk around. I get exercise, I can get my steps in for the day, and it allows me to continue to be a gold member at Starbucks, and that is a great thing for me. It's
I
great.
love this.
This answer
I mean,
is rocking my world.
Target, if you want to sponsor this episode for Tiffany, I mean,
Right. Or
Tiffany,
make Tiffany like a brand
we'll give you this
ambassador.
money.
Woo!
We'll give you the money. Yeah.
I listen, guys. I would be totally open to it
Yeah.
for sure. So yeah, I do that. The Cricut is taking up some of my time
Mhm.
too these days, and being creative and finding new things that I could do with that. Just a creative release and an outlet. I love, 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 love that. I am also an esthetician too by trade, and so I love Dr. Pimple Popper. and pop that
Yep.
popthatzit.com. And like, so it's just, I love, so when I was working at a spa, like my favorite part of the facial for me, probably not so much for the client, was the extractions. Like to be able to steam, you get your face steamed and your pores all open, and then I'm able to go in there and do the extractions and get the blackheads and the whiteheads and the comedones. Guys,
You are speaking my love language right now.
I'm so I'm so glad to hear that. It's the best thing ever. And some of it, like it just grosses my husband out, and he's just like, "Can you please stop? Like, I don't want to see it." Like, no. And I'm like, "You have no idea like what I was able to accomplish in this facial today. Like, it's just the best thing ever." So I still do that. I still love Dr. Pimple Popper, popthatzit.com. Like, I still love to check it out and just see like the improvement too. And it really is an improvement in the skin after you're able to extract all of that. And it really does make a difference. And so even when I get a facial, that's what I do. I let my esthetician, I let her do her thing and go in, and I want it gone. Yeah, please. So yeah, so between Target and the Cricut and Dr. Pimple Popper and all of that,
In Starbucks.
And so,
Starbucks, yes, all of that. I am what else? Oh my gosh, I'm so bad. I'm such a foodie. This Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavor that I fell in love with, oat of this swirled, like it's just amazing. I just
Out of this world.
oh,
You're making me hungry.
yeah.
What's your Starbucks drink of choice?
it's pumpkin spice season.
Oh, I know. I
So
wish I didn't like it, but I do.
oh my gosh. And so I mean, and I hate to hear it, but there are people that don't like pumpkin spice.
I know.
Right? Talk about a Debbie Downer. But anyway, it's like what? So I also love the pumpkin spice scone, and
Oh,
I didn't realize that I would love it as much as I do. And the trick for me has been when it's warmed. When it's warmed up, it takes it to a whole nother level. So, but right now, like the Starbucks drink I had today, because I just needed the espresso, was I had the caramel macchiato upside down. Um, and that's pretty much like my like when I just want the espresso and the caffeine, the caramel macchiato upside down is my go-to drink for sure.
I always
Yeah.
like to try new things there whenever I go, which is
Yeah.
yeah.
Check it out. Check it out. I think you'll like it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Tiffany, this has been an amazing interview.
Good.
You are a phenomenal woman and so inspiring, and you're cracking me up right now. But I feel like I need to travel to you once we're allowed to go for a Target trip and have you give me a facial.
Please.
Yes.
Sounds like a
Don't
dream.
get me with a good time. I love it. That
We can
would
go
be
to we can go to Starbucks too.
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
part of it. It would
Yeah.
kind of
I
happen.
want to see the Target experience through your eyes because I love Target, but I feel like you're on another level.
Agreed.
So I would love you as my guide.
I welcome that, and it would definitely be an experience, and I would love to give you guys that experience. So we just have to make it happen. I hope hopefully sooner rather than later, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Post 2020, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I have totally enjoyed my time speaking with you ladies. So thank you for reaching out, and it has been great. And I have subscribed to you guys' podcast, so I can't wait to listen to all things,
Oh,
all
thank
the podcasts.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
And thank you for being, it's hard sometimes to talk about a lot of these topics, and you've been so open. And I think that's so helpful to so many people to be able to hear someone's story. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story with us. And agreed. Now, I mean, this has been a ride of a conversation. I'm like cracking up now. I love your love
Great.
for Target.
Great. I have enjoyed this thoroughly, and like I said, I could talk to you ladies forever.
Yeah, clearly
Forever.
we could.
Can you tell people how they can find you on if you have a website or social media?
So right now, okay, so yeah, social media. So I am on Facebook. My podcast is on Facebook. So it is the TSL Experience. You could find it there. That's the same thing, same name, same handle on Instagram as well. The TSL Experience as well. And maybe I'll play around with this Etsy idea, and if that happens, of course, I'll link all of that to my social media as well at some point. You never know. We'll see.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank
Awesome.
you again, Tiffany. This has been awesome. Truly, we really appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. We really hope you enjoyed this conversation with Tiffany. If you have time, if you would please head over and give us a rating and review. And if you enjoyed our conversation, if you would share this podcast with a friend. Once again, you can find us at momandpodcast.com, Mom and Podcast on Facebook, and at Mom and Podcast on Instagram. We hope you have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.